Okay, we are going to do Chapter 1, Lesson 5 and Chapter 1, Lesson 6 combined today. And so for Chapter 1, Lesson 5, we're doing parallel and perpendicular lines. And for Chapter 1, Lesson 6, we are going to talk about constructions. So a definition of what are perpendicular lines, and there are two lines that intersect and they form 90-degree angles. So when you have two straight lines and they intersect at a 90-degree angle, it creates four right angles. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And the symbol for saying that two lines are parallel, like if this is line AB and this is line CD, we would say line AB is perpendicular to line CD. Okay, for parallel lines, that's two lines that will never intersect. And so that's when you have two lines that are running next to each other and they're at the same slope like we learned in Algebra 1. And so if this is line AB and this one is CD, I would say line AB is parallel to line CD. So for this example, we're using the figure at the right. Name all pairs of lines that appear to be parallel. Use both symbols and words. Now, one thing I want to talk about when we go to do parallel lines, the perpendicular ones still show the right angle. That's how you know they're perpendicular. But a lot of times the parallel lines are going to have like half arrows on them. That's also the symbol that's showing that those lines are parallel. So it doesn't show it in this example. That's why they say lines that appear to be parallel. So the ones that we have parallel are line C and line D. Name all the pairs of lines that are perpendicular. So line B is perpendicular to first line C, and line B is perpendicular to line D. So again, I'm seeing this perpendicular sign here. That's how I know that B and C and B and D. It's missing the parallel lines here, but again, we're assuming that those are parallel. Use the figure at the right to complete exercises 1 and 2. Name the perpendicular lines. Well, P and, we'll start with Q actually. Q and N, Q and M, P and N, and P and M. The ones that appear to be parallel, M and N, whoops, and P and Q. Use the space at the right for exercises 3 through 5. Draw a line MN. Draw a line Y parallel to MN. I knew that was going to happen. I tried to not put it where we'll put the parallel lines over here in the middle. Draw a line X perpendicular to MN at point M. What is the relationship then between line X and line Y? They are perpendicular. Draw RS. Draw RT perpendicular to RS at point R. Draw line K parallel to RS. Oops, that was the eraser, not the line. What is the relationship between RS and K? Parallel. I don't know why I'm just not using this symbol. Okay. Which line is parallel to OP? Well, here's OP. And the only one it looks like it doesn't cross is JK. Are AB and ST. Okay, let's see. Here's AB. Here's ST. Perpendicular or parallel? They are parallel. Is there any line that's parallel to MN? No. Is MN perpendicular to JK? I would say yes. If you extend JK, it looks to be perpendicular. Which line is perpendicular to AB and ST? So here's AB and ST, and the one that looks perpendicular to that one looks like FG. Name all the lines that FG is intersecting. Okay, so FG is intersecting starting here, ST. Then it goes right here to these two, so OP and MN. And then it intersects here at AB, and I believe that is all of them. Okay, so now we're moving on to lesson 1-6, which is the constructions. So we just need a few definitions here. What is a segment bisector? And it is a segment that cuts another segment in half at any angle. And we do that using just a ruler. So if I have a line here, and I don't think I have a ruler picture. Let me do that. Okay. Oh no, it didn't save. Okay. For the same segment bisector, all we need to do is have a measure of how long our segment is. So this one is 18. And so all I need to do is find half of that, which would be 9. And then for my segment bisector, it can be at any angle. So it can be perpendicular. It can be at any angle. So let me find my line. I just need to make sure that I draw a line that goes through that middle section. So that would be a segment bisector. So how we show that it cut it in half is we put a 1 mark here and a 1 mark here. So that shows that the original segment was cut in half. I could also do the segment bisector at an angle like this. Oops, forgot to turn on the line function. Okay. Like that. It's still just cutting that bisector in half, so the left side and the right side would be equal. Now, if they ask for an exact perpendicular bisector, that's when we would have to make sure that we cut the segment in half at exactly 90 degrees. So we're going to need a ruler and a compass. So if I put in my line here, okay, and then I take my ruler. Oops, come on. And move that down and measure that. Looks like I was about 19 again. About 19, I mean. It's about 18 and a half. You know what I'm going to do is erase that line. And I'm going to make one that I can actually measure easily. So I'm going to do a 10 centimeter line. And so half of that would be at 5. Now, when I put the mark at 5, the next thing I'm going to need to do is find my protractor and use my protractor to make sure that when I draw my bisector this time, it's cutting my line in half, but also that it is cutting it in half at 90 degrees. So to show those things, first thing I'll need to do is make a mark here and here to show that it is cut in half. And then I also need to add in my 90-degree mark there to show that it is a perpendicular bisector. The last one I have here is an angle bisector. I'll move these up here. To do an angle bisector, we also need a protractor and a ruler. I'm going to go ahead and erase this. Oops. Make myself some room. So if I'm going to do an angle like that, in order to first cut it in half, I need to measure my angle. So it is at 60 degrees. And so my bisector needs to come, which I'm not going to need to use a ruler on this cami because my line is going to be straight anyway. Normally I would only use the ruler to make my line straight. But since I can make it straight with my cami feature, I just need to make sure that I make it at 30 degrees because that would be halfway. And then again, using a mark, this time to show that these angles are equal, you put little half moons in there. And so that would show that angle ABC is congruent to CBD. So again, the only time you would actually need to use a ruler is if you were doing this on paper and you couldn't make your BC, the blue line like mine, straight. That's one advantage to doing this on cami. So on this one, number 1, name a bisector of MN. So I have 2 options here because I know this is the middle. They should have markings here and here showing us that MP and NP are the same. So a regular just bisector would be line PR. This one right here. The one that is the perpendicular bisector is the one that does the 90 degrees and cuts in half. So that would be line QR. So then my segment that is congruent to MP would be the other half of it, which is NP. If I look at angle QPN, so QPN, and it wants the angle bisector, which it doesn't show up, but these markings should be here. And so my angle bisector is actually going to be a ray PR because it needs to start in my vertex and go out, and that is the shape of a ray. So if they list angle QPR, the one that is congruent to it would be NPR. Okay, here are just some more examples, so I'll try to go through these pretty quickly. For this angle bisector, again, I need to bring in my protractor. Measure. Oh, gotta highlight it first. Okay. Measure the angle. It's not small enough. Come on. Okay. So it looks to me that it's about a 50-degree angle. So in order to construct the angle bisector, I'm going to need to make an angle mark at 25. And then when I move everything and erase these sloppy lines, should look pretty nice. So I was off a little bit, but you get the drill. Okay. Here's another angle bisector one. So again, I would just take this image, move it down here. I'd have to trace it first, figure out the angle measure and cut it in half. I'm going to need my ruler for these other 2. And this one actually needs both my ruler and my protractor because it wants the perpendicular bisector. So there's my line. First I need to do my ruler. Okay. So my ruler measures this to be about 13 centimeters. So halfway is going to be 6.5. Okay. Now I can take my protractor, and in order to make it the perpendicular bisector, just making sure that I'm going through that at 90 degrees. Number 3 just asks for a regular bisector. So all I need to do is measure the line. and it is about 12 centimeters. And so halfway would be 6. And it doesn't have to go at a 90-degree angle. It just has to make sure that it crosses at 6. Okay, so for the assessment, the first page is over the 1-5, and then the second page number is over the 1-6.